Hi everyone! We're finally back with a new season of What We Read.
That's right! Bookish New Year is done, and this is supposed to be This is season 3, I think, of What We Read. So welcome to everybody.
What We Read is essentially our version of everyone's like monthly recaps or bi-monthly recaps, whatever it is. Ours is just whenever we have them recaps.
Yeah, and since I was raised on TV, it just made sense for me to let's put it in seasons. That would make sense, and everyone's an episode.
I still can't believe we're on season 3.
And so this is season 3 with our Bookish New Year being BEA, and that is going to be the sort of hallmark milestone that tells the year in the calendar.
If you want to see all about what happened for us at Book Expo and BookCon this year, I'll link to both of the videos, the haul and the vlog.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. So this is the aftermath, and the first thing that we Alexis has been reading a lot. I haven't. But.
Yeah. Side note: the reason why I've been reading, there's going to be 3 different episodes, and we'll probably be in the same outfit for all 3 different episodes. It's because I've read so much because there was 1 week where I was quarantined at home because I was sick.
That's true. So that wasn't fun,
but I did get a lot of reading done. So
yes,
there's that.
All right, and what it's like she read so much. I'm like, oh, she was home for like terrible reasons. All right, that's one good thing that came out of it. So without further ado,
I guess we're gonna kick things off today. All of the things I'm going to be talking about are manga. While I was homesick, actually, Otaku-a-thon, the second round of it happened, which is part of the reason why I read so much manga.
So guess who binged?
But we also watched a lot of anime, and you guys will see that eventually in the vlog if I ever decide to upload it. Who knows if that's going to happen. I was really loopy in it, so a lot of the footage is me going, I don't feel so good. But
a lot of medicine, I think. Good kind of prescription drugs.
So I'm just going to talk about all the manga I read.
All right, here we go. Okay. Let's do this.
So first we're going to start with The Water Dragon's Bride by Rei Tomo, which I've owned for almost a year. The main character is a little girl named Asahi. In her backyard there is essentially like a pool or a lake, and one day she's just like washing her hands in it, and then she gets dragged into this lake and into an alternate world. In this alternate world, she meets a little boy, and like the little boy offers to help her find her parents and all of this. But the village a little boy is from sacrifices a girl or a woman to the water god, like as a thing. So guess who gets sacrificed?
Criminy.
That's essentially where the starting point of the story is. And she's a little bit of a sass monster. So of course when she meets this water god, she's just like, like, I don't know
You're not eating me.
Yeah, I like the illustration style. I think the main character is interesting. But story-wise, not the greatest that I've read. Like, I have encountered this sort of trope, you know, this whole sacrifice to the gods thing, in a couple of other, like, manga and anime. And in this one, it's not, like, it feels a little more cringy because she seems so young, and it comes across very young. I don't know if that improves as the series goes on, so if anyone else has read it, let me know. For right now, this is like a series where I'm like, it's fine if I don't continue. And then I read the first volume of Komomo Confessory, which is by Macky Minami. Here's the thing about this one. Again, it's not a perfect story because it's about this rich girl, and she used to have a friendship with a son of a chef who like worked for her family.
Right.
So they were friends, and the little boy is capable of cooking really delicious things, and they're the only things that stop her from crying. But one day they leave, the dad and the little boy, because the dad has like an opportunity to like be a chef abroad somewhere. Years pass, you know, things happen. The girl has some circumstance changes, and he comes back into her life because he comes back to Japan to run a cafe. And she ends up working for him at this cafe.
In a beautiful twist.
It's a little outlandish, admittedly. And, like, the guy is so, like, sometimes he can be so mean to her. Or at least it comes across as mean to me. But it's still so cute, and I know, we all know where this is going. Like, we know that it's gonna go in a certain direction. To be fair, she was also kind of mean to him when they were children. This is one that I actually think I will continue. It's a very short manga. I think it's only 6 volumes in total.
Nice.
So
it's nice when they end short.
I know, I think so too. I read 2 second volumes. The first one is Happy Marriage, which is by Macky and Joji. The premise of this one is that Shiwa marries the CEO of the company she works for, named Hokuto, in an arranged marriage because that way she can get the money to pay off her father's debt, because obviously he's rich. In the first one, obviously, she doesn't expect anything to come out of this. Like, she's like, it's an arrangement. Like, that's all it is. It's like a business transaction. But then she starts getting intrigued by him, and he starts getting intrigued by her, so that it seems like something could happen, except that in this one, there's so many mixed signals that neither of them can figure out actually what the other person wants. This is 10 volumes, this entire series. I don't don't know how long this whole mixed signals thing is gonna go on for. At the end of this one, it's pretty clear that the guy likes her. Like, he makes it very clear that he wants them to have a relationship. But I expect that because there's so many more volumes to come, there's gonna be more shenanigans in there. It's fun. Again, outlandish premise. Not for everyone, I'm sure, but it's entertaining as heck for me, so I'll keep on reading it. The other second volume I read was Library Wars Love and War, which is story and art by Kiro Yumi, and the original concept is by Hiro Arakawa. The world is a place where the federal government has decided that they can take control of books and can censor whatever books they want, basically. And the libraries and local government have teamed up in order to create like a defense force to save books, really, essentially. And the main character in this one has always wanted to be a part of this defense force after something that happens to her when she's a little girl. And so she's in training, and in this book you see her further exploring this training. She's now been assigned to a team, and the team just so happens to be led by the dude she does not like because he's so grumpy, and he's like, you know, typical, like, he's kind of harsh as like a leader. And it doesn't help that another one of her teammates is also the same kind of personality. Okay. So she has to deal with all of that. She's dealing with the group dynamic. She's also dealing with the reality of what it actually means to be part of the defense force. Because in her mind, she kind of idealized what it is. And here, she finally realizes, like, it can come to a point where there's, like, people you think should be on your side. They're not. There's like so much going on in this one. I still enjoyed it tremendously. The character relationships are like moving along swimmingly, which is always something I'm a fan of, so I will also be continuing this series. And then I read the first volume with this also has a ridiculous premise. I'm gonna say it now. But I am very intrigued by it. It is Kiss of the Rose Princess, and this is by Aya Shodo. The premise of this one is that the main character, Anise, is a girl who has been given this rose choker by her dad, and her dad tells her to never take off the choker because if she does, she'll be punished. So one day, the choker mysteriously falls off her neck, and so she loses it, and she ends up coming into possession of these 4 cards, and if she kisses the card, she can summon a Rose Knight. So there's 4 Rose Knights, and they're all people she actually knows at school, in different capacities. I liked it, but I also don't know where it's going because I'm like, what is the lore of it? That's like, right. What is the reasoning behind this, like, whole, why did she get the 4 Rose Knights? Why her? Why their school? So it's a little bit like, it's one I'm a little bit on the fence on. I am a little bit curious, so I guess I will continue it, but we'll see. I'm still like a little hesitant to say that I'll read the entire series. I reread the first volume, and then I jumped into the second volume of Dream and Sun. This is by Ichigo Takano, who is the author of Orange, if you guys remember me talking about that one. This one kind of reminds me a little bit of Fruits Basket because the main character, her name is Shimana, and she kind of feels like she has no more place in her own home. Her mother passed away a couple of years ago, and her dad remarried and has a new son. And so she kind of is trying to find her place in this world and like figure things out. And then she encounters this drunk dude in the park who somehow cannot get back into his own house because he's misplaced his keys or been locked out or whatever it is. And this person sees that she's running away because she has like all of her stuff with her, and he offers to let her live in that house if she completes a certain number of tasks, which she does. So if she goes and lives in this house, and it's sort of the same setup as Fruits Basket, where she's living in a house with 3 people, 3 guys. Same thing, except that this is in a contemporary setting and there's no magical aspect to it. Right. Here's the thing. One of the guys in this house fits that archetype of like, he has feelings for the main character, except that he doesn't know how to express the feelings for the main character. And meanwhile, the main character has feelings for a different person in the house, which all gets resolved in this one, by the way. Like, because you find out, like, you get confirmation for sure that the guy likes the girl and that the girl,
people like people.
It's cute. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I finally read the second volume, but I was really mad when I finished it because it kind of ends on a cliff, almost. Kind of, sort of. Was not great because it's such a good moment too, and I was like, why? So I will definitely be continuing the series.
Moving on to my sort of reads, and yeah, since we're kicking off our first What We Read episode with like a ton of comics and manga, which, well, I say ton mostly because hers is the ton, mine is the comics. I just want to pause real quick and give a shout out to the Spider-Geddon series. So for those of you who don't follow loosely or just are wondering just how crazy Madcap Comics can be, these big titles like Marvel and DC, they have these huge crossover events that are anchored either on just a specific sort of portion of the world and sort of bleed into the rest, or it's really just like the entire universe is sort of involved. This is one of those hybrids because it's centered on everyone with spider powers. They created a whole lore around spider powers where anybody who has spider powers is basically like on a spiritual plane have the totem of the spider.
Okay.
You know what I mean? New. Like, you know, which kind of branches over because there were, I think, in earlier, I want to say big arcs, a race of like vampires that sort of eat totem bearers.
Okay.
And they targeted the spider totem bearers across all the multiverses. So if anybody who's watched Into the Spider-Verse...
Oh, I love that movie.
One of the possible things they might be exploring in the future is that anybody who has a spider totem, meaning you're a spider person and you're a spider or a spider creature, like Spider Pig, obviously, Spider Ham, who we know and love as John Mulaney. If you're a spider totem bearer, they're going to eat you. And they defeated them the one time, and with Spider-Geddon, they're back because of stupid things.
Okay.
Like literally, it's like really, guys. That's why they're back. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but that's it. So I'm gonna give it a shout out because they really went all out. They have the Spider-Geddon main thing, then they have like Spider Force, and then like the Spider Girls. Like, you know, Gwen Stacy and Aranya and, you know, Mayday Parker, right? Who is like the daughter. Mayday Parker. Who is the daughter of Peter and Mary Jane in another universe, who inherited her dad's spider powers. Because guess what? That's in the genes now. So that makes total sense. And so now everybody's, again, very into this. So if you think Into the Spider-Verse, but with dumber reasons to come together. Because if they didn't do the dumb thing, then the evil vampire spider totem eating creatures won't be back now, will they? And now they're starting to kill everyone.
Okay.
Again. And I'm just like, oh boy. So, okay, fine. I wanted to follow that because I do love me some Gwen. I do love me some Miles, right? Not so much Peter and Doc Ock. I don't know what Peter is now these days. And I'm trying to get back into, what was Peter Parker again? I miss the days when he was really literally more like Tom Holland. Where he was quippy and not a grown-up in charge of Parker Industries. Which, by the way, pretty cool that he has his own thing now. Anyway, so that's Spider-Geddon. Wanted to give a brief shout out because there's like too many comics and I'm just sort of trying to figure them out. I'm currently around Spider-Geddon issue 3, so you'll see what that is. I do want to give a shout out to, of course, my favorite, the X-Men.
Every video, right?
Every video. I am right now at Uncanny X-Men number 5, published back, of course, 2018, because Marvel Unlimited, party like it's 6 months ago. We're getting into the, I want to say they reversed the apocalypse trope, where Apocalypse is this mutant supremacist who, through the survival of the fittest, will cull every weak thing, and has 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which...
Oh, okay. Isn't that in one of the movies?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the movies. Now they've sort of subverted it by making Nate Gray, Jean and Scott's alternate universe child.
Like his child? Like
in another universe that was Cable, but now it's Nate, and he's X-Man. And he, I think, went off the rails and went completely batty. And now he is kind of like a reverse Apocalypse, where he's like, I shall bring peace by killing everybody that will, you know... mess with that.
Totalitarian piece there.
And he's got 4 horsemen too. It's just so weird now to see. It's like, I guess here we're doing this now. That is my response. So shout out to that. I don't know how it's going to end. Some of you already probably do. Like I know Edmund, who comments on the thing, probably already read this. But yeah, that's the journey. It's weird to me, is all I'm saying, that they're taking an age-old X-Men trope of I am the Apocalypse and I have 4 mutants that are my hands and feet on this earth. And then now they're like, but one of the good guys is now crazy. It's still not as weird as to me, again, this is just my personal opinion and my preference and my taste. It's still not as weird to me as X-Men, like the vampire arc.
What is it with vampires and superheroes?
No, see, listen, you guys. At one point in time, the X-Men had a glorious arc where they created their own mutant utopia on a floating island that is its own country off the coast of San Francisco because they just wanted to be their own thing. And that was great, and they were able to kick off and, kick Norman Osborn and his Dark Avengers in the face. And then there's like Messiah Complex where the New Mutant... And then after all of that crazy stuff, out of nowhere, suddenly... X-Men versus Dracula. And I'm like, that's what you're following up with, you guys? So this isn't as weird as that, but it's roughly in the same ballpark. That's why I want to end this little X-Men rant before we move on to my DC sort of reads with X-Men Read. Now, this is Jean Grey back from the dead.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Again. She must have been brought back like 14 times now.
Never dying, that one.
And yet the one mutant whose literal mutant power is evolution and cannot be killed is still dead. So I don't know. But Jean... Sorry, Darwin. But Jean is back, and she has a dream. And so I like this. I like that she's taking Charles's dream. She's literally the only... She's literally one of the one out of the 5 students that is like, but let's do something good, okay? Because Scott turned crazy. Hank lost his mind by bringing the X-Men back into the present day world. Warren literally died and lost himself and is now sort of like half like the Archangel still. And then Bobby is just enjoying his best life. That's just, which I love. So you can't expect him to lead.
Yeah.
But you can expect him to support really good. And so I want to, and so I enjoyed XMen Read so much. And it's basically Jean saying this is like the future. They fight off against Cassandra Nova, Charles Xavier's on and off, dead and alive sort of evil twin from the womb. And they beat Cassandra in the best way possible. I thought, I expected it. It's very Care Bear Stare kind of.
Care Bear Stare.
Like very, very Aragon.
I'm sorry, that was really funny.
It's a trope now that we will overwhelm you with something that you never had before, which is whatever. And so that's already too spoilery, but at least I used obtuse. Like reference, I don't know any people who read comics that also understand what a Care Bear Stare is, although that is a pretty close thing.
You apparently.
You'll never know. At least people in this day and age that are too young to know what the Care Bears are. And then there's Aragon, like how Aragon ended. I don't know.
I don't even remember how Aragon.
I don't know too many people I don't know too many people who've read Inheritance.
I saw
and are also huge X-Men fans. So you'll get that illusion, and you wouldn't be too surprised. You might like it, not like it, but I just love the idea that of Xavier, terrible human being as he may have been sometimes, of his 5 students, Jean is the one who's like, but let's build a better world still, right? And with no angst against Scott and Hank and Warren and Bobby, who she's just like, but let's do this, and she leads so well, so you like Storm levels well. Like this is like, I want X-Men Gold forever. Like that's just Storm and Jean leading, but that's just me. Which leads me very quick to DC. I reread Super Sons, The Planet of the Capes. This is installment number 2 of when John Kent and Damian Wayne decide to team up, and now John, biggest cinnamon roll of the DC universe, is now under training with Damian. Damian's training John to patrol, and you'll have obtuse comments from Clark and Lois who are telling him to be back by 10. And basically telling him, well, we do this, and Damian gets to patrol every night. Why can't I? And he's like, well, Damian's dad dresses like a giant bat, and gets hit in the head by thugs every night, which I think is the shadiest the Kent family has ever been, pretty much almost ever. So that was fun, and it does have a crossover with the Teen Titans. And so if anybody loves the idea of Damian Wayne running his own Teen Titans and having John involved with that, this is your book. Which leads me to Kami Garcia's Raven. I read it the same day I got it at BEA. I was sitting down somewhere close to the restrooms, just poring over it. And it's a great take on Raven, I'd like to say. Easily more consumable. Definitely still big giant evil out there. Kami Garcia made good on her promise. Trigon is not some sterilized, sanitized version of I'm just the evil neighbor or the terrible absentee father. No, this is a giant red demon with many eyes.
He's a demon.
And I love this. I love that they didn't water that down, and that he was still a threat, that Raven had to do it. So very, I appreciate Gabriel Piccolo's art. They both produced something very, very good and awesome. And though this isn't the final coloring, the art is just gorgeous, and the story is palatable. I would recommend it to anybody who likes Raven and wants to give an Elseworld a chance. Plus, Beast Boy's coming right after this, so that's exciting.
So for the rest of the manga that I managed to read, first we have Fruits Basket, Another, by Natsuki Takaya. This is the sort of spin-off, I guess, from Fruits Basket, and you guys know I love Fruits Basket. It's basically essentially the same story. It's just that the main character is a completely different personality from Toru Honda, who is the main character of the first series. Mitoma is the main character in this series, and she's more withdrawn, I want to say. She's kind of withdrawn into herself because she's been rejected a lot, and that all changes on the day that she encounters 2 Soma kids in her generation at her school, and they kind of still fit the same stereotypes as Kyo and Yuki. In this one, they're named Mitsuki and Hajime, I want to say. Are there references to the first series? Yes. Are they clear references? No, but if you know the series, you probably know what the references are.
That's nice.
I am obviously very much into the story and looking forward to continuing. And then I read the I'm sad because the newer volume of this got delayed, but it's volumes 2 and 3 of Wotakoi Love is Hard for Otaku, and this is by Fujita. I have talked about Wotakoi before. It's basically about these 4 friends. They all work in the same like office, and by day they all act like they're ordinary office workers, but really outside of the office they're all actually different forms of otaku, and their range of like commitment to being an otaku is very different depending on what they're into.
That's
right. So there's a gamer one, cosplay one, manga one. I mean, even an anime. Like they even mentioned anime. What I love about this series is that first of all, it's relatable as someone who is also an otaku. Second of all, like it's just fun to see all the references they throw in. Sometimes I don't know them until the author points them out. In these volumes, at the very end, they'll usually point out what the references are, what they're talking about. The illustration style is great. The story it's fairly simple. It's basically just these awkward potatoes trying to navigate interpersonal relationships.
And what I love about it is it's slice of life.
It's so great.
And how slice of life is usually for ordinary people, this is for like huge anime, like gaming nerds.
Huge otakus, basically.
You know, so it's basically...
I mean, they play MMORPGs together.
It's adult fandom life, basically. And it's just so fun.
It's fun. So the last thing is a set of volumes in a series. It's these 8 volumes of Kiss Me at the Stroke of Midnight, and I actually read the first one twice because I wanted to reread it before I read the rest of the series. I'm going to preface this by saying that I know for sure that this premise is not going to work for everyone. But as someone who in high school used to write fan fiction about her favorite boy bands, literally the exact premise of most of, if not all of those stories. So the main character in this one is named Hinana, and she's like, a model student at school, and she does her best to like get all her duties done. Everyone thinks like she's like the most perfect model student ever, but really deep down inside she really wants to experience like a life-changing romance.
Don't we all?
And it just so happens that in the first volume their school is going to be used as a filming location for a film that this guy who used to be in a boy band and is now an actor, Kei Ayase, is going to be in. The student council gets called in to be extras, and that includes Hinana. So she runs into Cade, they sort of have an encounter, and then she thinks nothing of it, and then they have an encounter outside of that. Slowly but surely, they develop a relationship. And in the course of these 8 books, that relationship continues to flourish in spite of all the obstacles that have been thrown in its way. And I swear to God, this is literally fan fiction style in the way that like 12 or 13-year-old Alexa would have been dying. Like, just dying. Like, it's adorable. And like it's frustrating too, because like all of the circumstances they're in, sometimes it's just like, oh my god, please talk, or oh my god, please fix this. Is it over the top? Sure.
Why shouldn't it be?
Is the romance a little bit on the outlandish side? If you don't like huge age gaps, probably. If you're not very fond of this whole like celebrity and normal person thing, then probably. But for me, like I am thoroughly enjoying it. There are only 2 more volumes after this entire set.
Oh, how nice.
I'm dying a little bit because the way the last volume ends is a little cliffhangery, and I'm just like, I have to wait months for the next one. I lovingly blame Kristen for this because I only started with 1, and then the next day I was like, oh shit.
That's
and I ended up ordering everything else.
This one's on you.
It's all Kristen's fault. But I blame her lovingly. But I really enjoyed that.
So much.
I think that series is so much fun. And if you're someone who enjoys that sort of thing where it's a celebrity romance, or if you ever liked fan fiction or boy bands or anything like that, you'll probably enjoy that too.
Yeah.
Alright, that is the end of this What We Read.
Yes,
it's very visual, isn't it?
Extremely.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you read any of the things we talked about, or have similar recommendations, we'd love to hear them. And we'll see you guys in our next What We Read video. Bye!